The war was supposed to be over in days. The Coalition said so. Their 1,000 ships darkened Earth's sky like locusts, and their generals promised a quick end to human resistance. That was 6 months ago. Commander James Red stood on the bridge of the Defiance, Earth's last operational dreadnought. Through the viewport, he could see the blue marble of his homeworld, scarred by orbital bombardment but still alive, still fighting. Sir, Coalition forces are assembling, Anna Torres said from the pilot station. Her voice was steady, but Red saw her hands grip the controls tighter. 3,000 ships, maybe more. 3,000. Red let the number sink in. The Coalition had brought every species in their alliance to finish what they started. The Crow with their plasma cannons, the Voran with their stealth cruisers, the massive Targ dreadnoughts that made human ships look like toys. They came because humanity refused to kneel. How long ago they're in position? Reed asked. 20 minutes. David Kim answered from engineering. The young man wiped sweat from his forehead. Sir, the hull stress is at critical. One more hit and we're done. Reed nodded. The Defiance had earned her name. 37 battles, 42 confirmed kills. But she was dying, held together by welds and prayers. Maria, any word from command? Reed turned to his communications officer. Maria Santos shook her head. Still silent, sir, but the coded signal came through 5 minutes ago. She paused. They said, it's ready. The bridge went quiet. For 6 months, humanity had fought and died. Every colony outside the solar system was ash. Mars base, gone. Europa station, destroyed. Titan's shipyards, rubble floating in space. Earth lost 3 billion people in the first month alone. But humanity had a secret. While the Coalition celebrated their victories, human scientists worked in hidden labs beneath Earth's surface. They weren't building bigger guns or faster ships. They were building something the galaxy had never seen. They called it the Silence Protocol. Reed remembered the briefing 3 weeks ago. Dr. Robert Hayes, head of Advanced Weapons Research, had explained it with trembling hands. Every species in the Coalition uses neural implants for ship control. Every one of them operates on similar biological frequencies. We found a way to disrupt those frequencies across entire star systems. A pulse weapon, Reed had asked. More than that, Hayes said. It's a neural cascade. Once it starts, it spreads through their technology, their biology. They won't die, but they'll be silent, paralyzed. Their ships, their stations, their communications, everything stops. And humans, Hayes smiled grimly. We're different enough. Our neural patterns don't match theirs. We'll be fine. Now, watching the Coalition fleet assemble for humanity's execution, Red understood what his species had become. Desperate, brilliant, dangerous. Sir, incoming transmission, Maria said. General Vorn wants to speak with you. Reed straightened his uniform, put him on. The view screen flickered. General Vorn appeared, a massive creature with 4 arms and scales that shimmered like oil. His face was something between a lizard and a lion, and his teeth were designed to tear meat. Commander Red, Vorn said, his voice translated by automated systems. I offer you one final chance. Surrender Earth. Your species will be allowed to exist as laborers under Coalition rule. Refuse and we eliminate every human in this system. Reed stared at the alien general. 6 months ago, he might have felt fear. Now he felt only cold determination. General Vorn, Reed said quietly, you came to our home. You burned our colonies, you killed our children. You thought we were weak because we value life. He leaned forward. You were wrong. Vorn's expression shifted. Was that surprise? You have nothing left, human. Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are broken. What can you possibly? Reed cut the transmission. Maria, open a channel to Earth Command, he said. Channel open, sir. Reed took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would define humanity's future, or end it forever. This is Commander James Reed of the Defiant. All human forces prepare for protocol silence. Authorization code, Phoenix Rising. He paused. Execute. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the moon lit up. Hidden stations across Luna's surface activated simultaneously. Dishes turned toward the Coalition fleet. Energy gathered, invisible and unstoppable. The pulse launched. It moved faster than light, a wave of disruption that swept through space like a silent scream. It touched the first Coalition ship, then the second, then spread through the entire fleet in cascading wave. On his view screen, Red watched 3,000 warships simply stop. Their engines died, their weapons powered down. Their lights flickered and went dark. Ships that had been moving into attack formation now drifted, lifeless metal coffins floating in the void. "Communications from Coalition Fleet," Maria whispered. "Sir, there's nothing. Complete silence across all frequencies." Anna Torres stared at her sensor readings. "All ships dead in space. No power signatures. No life support active. They're just floating." David Kim's voice shook. "Our mean whisperers. My God, it actually worked." Reed activated long-range scanners. The pulse was still spreading, moving beyond Earth's orbit, reaching toward the outer colonies, toward Coalition staging grounds and nearby star systems. Everywhere it touched, the silence followed. "Sir," Maria said, "Incoming transmission from the neutral observer station. They're asking what happened. Multiple species are demanding answers." Reed straightened. "Broadcast on all galactic frequencies. Let everyone hear this." Maria nodded. "Channel open." "This is Commander James Reed of Earth's United Defense Force," Reed began. His voice was calm, final. "6 months ago, the Coalition invaded our home without provocation. They demanded our surrender. They killed our civilians. They burned our world." He paused, letting his words sink in across 1,000 listening stations. "They believed humans were weak. They believed we would break. They were wrong." Red looked at the floating graveyard that had been the Coalition's Grand Fleet. "The war is over. We did not start this conflict, but we have finished it. All Coalition military forces in 12 star systems are now disabled. Your crews are alive but paralyzed. Your ships are intact but silent." He leaned toward the camera. "Humanity offers this choice. Withdraw from our territory. Leave us in peace, or learn what happens when humans stop holding back." The transmission ended. On the main view screen, General Vorn's flagship drifted past, its lights dark, its weapons cold. Inside, Reed knew, Vorn sat paralyzed in his command chair, unable to move, unable to speak, forced to watch his Grand Armada become a floating monument to the galaxy's biggest mistake, attacking Earth. Survivors who had lost everything but refused to surrender. "Take us forward," he said. "Secure those ships, take prisoners, treat them fairly." He paused. "But make sure they understand. Humanity didn't lose this war." The Defiance moved through the silent fleet alone but victorious. Below them, Earth turned slowly, scarred but alive. Humanity had survived, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The silence lasted 3 hours. In that time, the galaxy changed. Reed watched from the bridge as human recovery teams moved through the disabled Coalition fleet. Boarding pods attached to alien hulls like parasites, cutting through airlocks, securing ship after ship. Inside those vessels, thousands of alien soldiers sat frozen at their stations, eyes moving but bodies paralyzed, watching helplessly as humans took control. "Status report," Reed ordered. David Kim looked up from his console. 217 ships secured so far. No resistance. Their crews can't move, can't speak. Life support is being restored on priority vessels. He hesitated. "Sir, some of the smaller ships, their systems failed completely. Crew casualties from oxygen deprivation." Reed felt the weight of the silence protocol wasn't supposed to kill, but war always found ways to add to the body count. "How many?" "Unknown. Maybe thousands." David's voice was flat. "Across the entire fleet, we're looking at possible casualties in the tens of thousands." Tens of thousands. Reed closed his eyes briefly. The Coalition had killed billions of humans. Was this justice, revenge, or just more death in an endless cycle? "Keep working," he said. "Save who we can." Anna Torres turned from her station. "Sir, we're getting readings from the outer systems." The pulse reached Coalition staging grounds at Proxima, Alpha Centauri, and Bernard Star. All military installations silent. Estimate 70,000 Coalition personnel affected. 70,000 soldiers who woke up today expecting victory, now paralyzed and helpless light years from home. "Incoming transmission," Maria Santos announced. "It's from the Neutral Council. They're demanding an immediate explanation." The Neutral Council, 6 species who stayed out of the war, who watched from the sidelines while humanity burned. Now they wanted answers. "Put them through," Reed said. The view screen split into 6 sections. 6 alien faces appeared, each more bizarre than the last. Ambassador Trell, a being that looked like floating crystals. Ambassador Nix, something with too many eyes. Ambassador Cora, almost human but with skin like tree bark. The others were equally strange. Trell spoke first, his voice like wind chimes. "Commander Red, The Neutral Council demands to know what weapon humanity has deployed. You have disabled military forces across 12 star systems. This level of destruction, Reed interrupted. His voice was cold. Ambassador, we destroyed nothing. Coalition forces are alive. Their ships are intact. We simply turn them off. Turn them off? Turn them off? Nix's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. You speak of living beings as if they are machines. They came to Earth as machines of war, Reed replied. They killed 3 billion of my people. They bombed our cities from orbit. They burned our colonies. Lean forward. And when we defended ourselves, suddenly the galaxy cares about the rules of war. Cora's wooden face remained expressionless. The Council is concerned about the implications of this weapon. If humanity can disable entire fleets with a single pulse, the balance of galactic power has shifted dramatically. Then maybe the galaxy should have thought about that before letting the Coalition invade Earth. Anna muttered, loud enough for the microphone to catch. Reed didn't reprimand her. She was right. The silence protocol is a defensive weapon, Reed explained. It was built to stop an invasion. Nothing more, but it could be used offensively, Trell said. With this technology, humanity could disable any species, any fleet, anywhere in known space. We could, Reed agreed. Just like the Coalition could have used their weapons to defend instead of invade. Intent matters, Ambassador. Humanity didn't start this war. The 6 ambassadors exchanged glances through their respective screens. What are humanity's terms? Cora asked finally. For peace. Reed had been waiting for this question. He pulled up a data file that Earth Command had prepared weeks ago, back when the silence protocol was still theoretical. These are our terms, he said, transmitting the file. First, immediate withdrawal of all Coalition forces from human-claimed systems. Second, reparations for the colonies they destroyed. Third, formal recognition of Earth and her territories as a sovereign power. Fourth, he paused, a non-aggression treaty, guaranteed for 100 years. And if the Coalition refuses? Nix asked. Reed's expression didn't change. Then we expand the pulse. Every Coalition world, every station, every ship between here and the galactic core goes silent. Their entire civilization frozen in place until they agree to our terms. The ambassadors recoiled. Even through alien features, Red could see their shock. You would hold entire planets hostage? Trell's voice lost its musical quality. They held Earth hostage for 6 months, Red said quietly. They bombed our cities. They killed our children. They promised to make us slaves. He stood from his chair. Ambassadors, humanity is not asking for permission. We're informing you of reality. The war is over. The Coalition lost. These are the terms of their surrender. The screen went dark as the Neutral Council cut the transmission. That went well, David said dryly. Maria laughed, but there was no humor in it. Sir, we're receiving thousands of messages from across the galaxy. Some species are praising us. Others are calling us monsters. And she paused. Some are asking if we're accepting allies. Reed observed that. The galaxy was fracturing. Species that lived under Coalition rule for centuries were seeing a chance for freedom. Others were terrified of humanity's new power. Priority message coming through, Maria said. It's from General Vorn's flagship. Someone's managed to restore basic communications. On screen. The image was distorted, but Red could make out a medical bay. General Vorn lay on a table, still paralyzed, but his eyes were alert. A human medic stood beside him, holding a communication device to translate Vorn's eye movements. The translator spoke Vorn's words. I underestimated your species, a fatal mistake. Red said nothing. The Coalition will not accept your terms, Vorn continued through the translator. When the pulse wears off, when our forces recover, we will return. Then we will finish what we started. Reed leaned closer to the screen. General, the pulse doesn't wear off. Your neural implants are permanently disrupted. Your connection to your ships, your weapons, your command systems, it's gone. You'll recover physical movement in a few days, but you'll never interface with Coalition technology again. He let that sink in. You and 70,000 of your best soldiers are obsolete. Vorn's eyes widened. We saved your lives, General. We could have killed every one of you in seconds. Instead, we're offering medical treatment, food, and safe return to your homeworlds. Reed's voice softened slightly. Go home, General. Tell your leaders what happened here. Tell them what humans do when you push us to the edge. He cut the transmission. The bridge was silent for a moment. "Sir," Anna said hesitantly, "what if they do come back? What if the coalition rebuilds and tries again?" Red looked out at the floating fleet, at Earth below, at the stars beyond. "Then we'll be ready. Humanity doesn't lose wars, Anna. We survive them. We adapt. We overcome." He turned to face his crew. "They thought we were weak because we value life. They thought compassion was weakness. They learned the truth. Humanity's strength comes from what we protect, not what we destroy." David Kim stood from his station. "Orders, sir. Continue securing the fleet. Begin medical treatment for all coalition survivors, and send a message to Earth Command." Reed straightened his uniform. "Tell them Phase 1 is complete. The galaxy is listening now." "And Phase 2? Maria asked. Reed smiled grimly. "We rebuild. Every colony they burned, we restore. Every ship they destroyed, we replace. And we make sure that every species in this galaxy understands Earth is not a target. Earth is a warning." The Defiance continued its patrol through the silent fleet. On the main view screen, a dozen human ships appeared, arriving from hiding spots throughout the solar system. They weren't warships. They were hospital ships, supply vessels, diplomatic cruisers. Humanity hadn't just planned for war. They'd planned for peace. "Incoming transmission from Earth," Maria announced. "It's Director Hayes." The scientist appeared on screen looking exhausted but triumphant. "Commander Red, congratulations. The silence protocol exceeded all projections." "Director," Reed acknowledged. "What's the status of the pulse? How far did it spread?" Hayes consulted his data. 12 star systems confirmed affected. All coalition military technology within range has been neutralized. Civilian systems were mostly unaffected. The pulse was tuned specifically for military-grade neural interfaces. He paused. "Commander, you need to know something. We're detecting unusual readings from the edge of the pulse field." "What kind of readings?" "Decay. The pulse is weakening faster than models predicted. We estimate coalition forces will begin recovering neural function within 72 hours. Not full capability, but enough to operate basic systems." Reed processed that. 3 days. Humanity had 3 days of total advantage before the coalition could start rebuilding their command structure. "Then we move fast," Reed said. "Maria, send fleet-wide orders. All human forces to accelerate boarding operations. We need every coalition ship secured and every prisoner processed within 48 hours. "Sir, that's impossible," David protested. "We don't have enough personnel." "Then we recruit." Reed cut him off. "There are civilian volunteers on every orbital station, every moon base. People who lost families to the coalition. They'll help." He looked at his crew. "We have 3 days to turn a military victory into a permanent peace. After that, the galaxy decides if they accept humanity's terms or if we go to war again." Anna Torres checked her navigation console. "Sir, I'm detecting movement in the outer system. Ships approaching at high speed. Unknown configuration." Reed tensed. "Hostile?" "Negative. They're transmitting?" "Friendship protocols?" Anna looked confused. "Sir, it's a fleet from the Tarvan Republic. They're one of the species the coalition conquered 20 years ago." Maria confirmed. "Message incoming. The Tarvan are offering military assistance. They want to help secure the coalition fleet." Reed exchanged glances with his crew. The galaxy was choosing sides, and some were choosing Earth. "Accept their offer," Reed decided. "But keep them on perimeter patrol. I don't trust anyone yet." "Wise choice, sir," a new voice said. Reed spun. Standing in the bridge doorway was Admiral Lisa Grant, commander of Earth's Defense Forces. Her uniform was scorched, her face bore fresh scars, but she was smiling. "Admiral?" Reed saluted. "We thought you were killed when Mars base fell." "Almost was." Grant limped into the bridge. "Spent 3 weeks in an escape pod. Picked up by a supply runner yesterday." She looked at the view screen showing the disabled coalition fleet. "Hell of a job, Commander. You and your crew just changed galactic history." "We did what we had to, Admiral." Grant nodded. "Now we do what comes next. Earth Command is sending the entire diplomatic corps. We're going to negotiate with every species in the coalition one by one. Join us in a new alliance based on mutual respect or go back to taking orders from bullies. Think it'll work?" Reed asked. "Has to," Grant said simply. Because if it doesn't, if the galaxy decides humanity is too dangerous to exist, We'll be fighting this war for generations. She looked at each crew member in turn. But I think we'll be okay. You know why? Reed waited. Because we won without becoming monsters. We had the power to commit genocide. Instead, we offered mercy. Grant smiled. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us strong. On the view screen, more ships appeared, not warships this time, but refugees. Civilian vessels from a dozen species fleeing coalition space, seeking safety near Earth. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, bloodied but unbroken, stood at the center of that change. Red looked at his crew, at Admiral Grant, at Earth turning below. They had survived. They had won. Now came the hard part. Building a peace worth fighting for. The negotiations began on the third day. Earth's moon had been transformed into a massive diplomatic center. Temporary structures dotted the gray landscape. Meeting halls, medical facilities, detention centers for coalition officers. Hundreds of alien species gathered there, some voluntarily, others as prisoners waiting to be processed. Commander Rid stood in the main observation deck, watching shuttles arrive and depart. Beside him, Admiral Grant reviewed reports on a data tablet. Status update, Grant said without looking up. We've secured 90% of the coalition fleet. 200 species have requested diplomatic meetings. 47 have already signed preliminary peace agreements. She paused. And the Neutral Council has formally recognized Earth as a galactic power. Reed absorbed the information. 3 days ago, humanity was fighting for survival. Now they were rewriting galactic politics. What about the coalition leadership? Red asked. The core worlds, Grant's expression darkened. Silent. Literally. Our pulse hit their command stations, their government centers, their military academies. The entire coalition power structure is paralyzed. She looked up. Estimate is that 3 million coalition personnel are affected galaxy-wide. Most will recover physical function in the next week, but their neural implants are permanently damaged. 3 million soldiers who could no longer interface with their technology. 3 million careers ended in seconds. Are we the villains now, Admiral? Reed asked quietly. Grant considered the question. Maybe to some. But villains don't rebuild enemy ships and send them home. Villains don't offer medical treatment to the people who bombed their cities. She gestured toward the surface where human doctors worked alongside alien medics. We did what we had to survive. History will judge if we were right. A young officer approached. Lieutenant Tom Baker, recently promoted after the previous communications team died in the battle for Earth's orbit. Sirs, Baker saluted. The first major delegation is ready. The Vorin Collective wants to negotiate surrender terms. The Vorin. Their stealth cruisers had killed more humans than any other coalition species. Reed remembered watching Vorin ships destroy the colony on Europa, remembered the screams on the communication channels before everything went silent. Let's go, Grant said. They walked through lunar corridors filled with activity. Human soldiers stood guard beside alien prisoners. Medical teams rushed between emergency wards. Engineers worked to restore damaged systems. Everyone moved with purpose, with determination. The conference room was simple. A large table, chairs adjusted for various alien physiologies, translators built into the walls. Waiting inside were 5 Vorin delegates, their sleek bodies covered in dark scales, their eyes like black pearls. The lead delegate rose as Red and Grant entered. I am Speaker Rel, the translator converted his hissing speech into standard English. I speak for the Vorin Collective. Grant took her seat. Red stood behind her, hand resting on his sidearm. Protocol, Speaker Rel, Grant began. You're here to discuss terms. We are here to understand, Rel corrected. His head tilted, a Vorin gesture of confusion. Your species possessed this weapon for months. You could have used it at any time. Why did you wait? Why let us kill so many of your people? Grant's jaw tightened. Because we're not murderers. The silence protocol was a last resort. We hoped diplomacy would work. We hoped the coalition would see reason. Instead, we saw weakness, another Vorin delegate said. We believed your hesitation meant you lacked the strength to use such a weapon. That was your mistake, Red said coldly. Humans don't confuse mercy with weakness. We gave you chances to stop. You ignored them. Rel's eyes fixed on Reed. And now, you have one. You have our fleet, our soldiers, our technology. What happens to the Vorin people? Their aunt slid a datapad across the table. These are Earth's terms. Full withdrawal from human space. Reparations for the colonies you destroyed. And you will stand trial for war crimes, specifically the massacre at Europa Station. The Voran delegates recoiled. Trial, Rel's voice rose. By whose authority? By the authority of 3 billion dead humans, Grant said flatly. You targeted civilian populations. You bombed refugee ships. You executed prisoners. She leaned forward. The Neutral Council has agreed to oversee tribunals. You will face justice. Rel was silent for a long moment. Then surprisingly, his posture changed. His scales rippled, a sign of submission in Voran culture. Except, he said quietly, the Voran leadership made terrible decisions. We followed orders we should have questioned. If trials bring peace, we will face them. Reed hadn't expected that. Defiance, yes. Threats, maybe. Because we have seen what you could have done, Commander. Your weapon could have killed us all. Instead, you saved our lives. You treat our wounded. You feed our prisoners. His eyes were unreadable. The Coalition told us humans were weak, emotional, chaotic. They were half right. You are emotional, but that emotion makes you strong, not weak. You fight for each other, protect each other, grieve for each other. He paused. The Voran have forgotten how to do that. Perhaps your justice will remind us. Grant stood, extending her hand, a human gesture of respect. Rel studied it for a moment, then reached out with his scaled limb. They shook. Tell your people, Grant said. The war is over. Go home. Rebuild, and remember what happened when you attacked Earth. The Voran delegates left quietly. Reed turned to Grant. That went better than expected. 1 species down, Grant said. 199 to go. Over the next week, the delegations continued. Some negotiations were simple, minor species who fought for the Coalition out of fear, not loyalty. They signed agreements quickly, eager to return home. Others were difficult. The Krell refused to acknowledge human authority. Their delegates demanded the immediate release of all prisoners and threatened retaliation. Grant listened patiently, then showed them footage of the silence protocol spreading through their fleet. You can threaten all you want, she said calmly, but your weapons are silent and ours are not. So sit down and negotiate, or spend the next year in detention while we talk to species that actually want peace. The Krell sat down. The Targ, massive beings who stood 3 meters tall, wept openly during their negotiations. Their commander, General Bohr, confessed that he never wanted the war. The Coalition leadership forced us, he said through tears. They threatened to destroy our homeworld if we didn't fight. Grant listened, then offered the Targ something unexpected. Alliance. Fight with us, she proposed. Help us build a better galaxy, one where no species is forced into war. The Targ accepted. Slowly, piece by piece, Earth was constructing a new galactic order. Reed spent his days coordinating security, his nights reviewing diplomatic reports. On the 7th day, Maria Santos found him in the observation deck, staring at Earth. You should sleep, sir, she said gently. Can't, Reed admitted. Every time I close my eyes, I see Europa. I see the colonies burning. I see the billions we lost. Maria stood beside him. We won, sir. We saved Earth. Did we, Reed asked? It's just become what they feared. A species powerful enough to silence the galaxy. We're not them, Maria said firmly. The Coalition conquered because they enjoyed power. We fought because we had no choice. There's a difference. Reed wanted to believe that. He really did. Incoming priority transmission, Lieutenant Baker's voice crackled over the intercom. Commander Red, Admiral Grant needs you in the main conference room immediately. It's urgent. Reed and Maria rushed through the corridor. When they reached the conference room, they found it filled with human leadership and alien delegates. Grant stood at the head of the table, her face grim. What happened? Reed asked. Grant activated the central display. We just received this transmission. It's from the Coalition Core Worlds. Their leadership has recovered enough functionality to send a message. The screen flickered. An alien appeared, something Red had never seen before. It was massive, vaguely insectoid with multiple limbs and eyes that glowed with intelligence. This was a Prime, one of the founding species of the Coalition. Humans of Earth. The Prime's voice was deep, resonant. I am Prime Chancellor Vex. I speak for the Coalition Core Council. Reed felt the room tense. 7 days ago, you unleashed a weapon of unprecedented power. You disabled our fleets, paralyzed our soldiers, and humiliated our alliance. Vex paused. You demonstrated strength we did not believe possible from such a young species. Here it comes, Grant muttered. The real threat. But Vex surprised them all. We were wrong, the Prime said simply. The coalition was built on fear, on domination, on the belief that only the strong deserve to survive. You have shown us a different kind of strength, strength that chooses mercy over massacre, strength that offers healing to enemies. Vex leaned closer to the camera. The coalition as you knew it is finished. Our member species are abandoning us. Our military is crippled. Our authority is shattered. And perhaps that is as it should be. Reed exchanged shocked glances with Maria. Humanity has won more than a war. Vex continued. You have won the right to lead. The galaxy is listening to Earth now. What you do next will determine the future of all spacefaring species. The Prime's eyes seemed to bore through the screen. Lead us toward something better. Or prove that power corrupts all species, human or otherwise. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. The room erupted in debate. Some wanted to reject Vex's words as manipulation. Others saw opportunity. A few demanded continued military action against the remaining coalition forces. Grant raised her hand for silence. When the room quieted, she turned to Reed. Commander, you've been at the front lines of this war since day one. You've seen the worst of what both sides can do. She looked at him intently. What do you think humanity should do? Reed thought about General Vorn, paralyzed and helpless. About Speaker Rel, accepting justice with dignity. About General Bohr, weeping for a war he never wanted. About the billions of humans killed and the millions of aliens now looking to Earth for guidance. We do what we've always done, Reed said finally. We survive. We adapt. We build something better than what came before. He looked around the room. The coalition ruled through fear. We'll lead through cooperation. We'll build alliances based on mutual respect, not domination, and any species that threatens that peace. He paused. They'll learn the lesson the coalition learned. Humanity doesn't start fights. But we finish them. Grant smiled. Then we have our answer. She activated the communication systems. Attention all species within range of this transmission. This is Admiral Lisa Grant of Earth's United Defense Force. 7 days ago, the coalition invaded our home. Today, that coalition no longer exists. In its place, Earth proposes something new. A federation of free worlds. An alliance where no species is forced to serve, where conflicts are resolved through dialogue, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. She looked directly into the camera. Join us. Us. Build this new galaxy with us, or stand aside and watch as we create a future where no species lives in fear of invasion, where no homeworld burns because they refuse to submit. Grant ended the transmission and turned to her staff. Begin drafting the Federation Charter. Contact every species that signed preliminary agreements. We're moving forward with formal alliances. Someone get me a direct line to Prime Chancellor Vex. If the coalition leadership wants to join our federation, they're going to have to earn it. The room buzzed with activity as officers rushed to execute orders. Red found himself back at the observation window, watching Earth turn below. The planet still bore scars from the bombardment, dark patches where forests burned, gray streaks where cities were destroyed. But lights were returning. Upnee. Humanity was rebuilding. Anna Torres appeared beside him. Sir, the Defiance is repaired. Command wants to know if you're ready to return to active duty. Reed looked at his pilot. Young, brave, scarred by war but not broken. Like all of them. Yeah, he said. I'm ready. The galaxy's going to need protection. Need someone watching the borders while the diplomats build their federation. Think it'll work? Anna asked. This federation idea? Reed thought about it. Maybe not, but we have to try. He smiled slightly. Besides, the galaxy just learned an important lesson. What's that? Never underestimate humanity. Red turned from the window. We survived extinction. We turned defeat into victory. We built a weapon that could have destroyed the galaxy, and we chose to use it for defense instead of conquest. He headed toward the door. If we can do all that, maybe we can actually build a lasting peace. Behind him, Earth continued its rotation. The blue planet that had nearly fallen, that had been pushed to the edge of annihilation, now stood as a symbol of survival and hope. The galaxy had fallen silent in seconds. Now, Humanity would give it a reason to speak again in the days that followed. 23 species formally joined the Federation of Free Worlds. 50 more applied for membership. The Neutral Council unanimously endorsed the new alliance. Even Prime Chancellor Vex submitted a formal application pledging the reformed coalition territories to peaceful cooperation. The war trials began on the moon. Justice slow and measured for those who committed atrocities. Some were imprisoned. Others were exiled. A few were executed for crimes against sentient life. But the trials were fair, conducted with transparency, witnessed by representatives from dozens of species, and the galaxy watched. They watched as humanity rebuilt not just their own colonies, but offered aid to former enemy worlds devastated by the war. They watched as human engineers helped restore Varan infrastructure, as human doctors treated wounded Krell soldiers, as human diplomats patiently mediated disputes between species that had been enemies for centuries. They watched. Slowly, they began to understand. Humanity's strength wasn't just in their weapons. It was in their resilience, their compassion, their stubborn refusal to give up on the idea that different species could coexist peacefully. The Defiance, repaired and refitted, patrolled the borders of Federation space. Commander Reed remained at her helm, watching over the fragile peace his species had fought so hard to create. Sometimes, on quiet nights, he would stand on the bridge and remember the day the galaxy fell silent. The day humanity proved that the smallest species could shake the foundations of galactic power. The day Earth stopped being a target and became a beacon. The war was over, but humanity's true test was just beginning, building a galaxy worth living in. And Reed knew, with absolute certainty, that his species was ready for the challenge. They had survived the impossible. Everything else was just details. The end.